gives his all to create a safe, inclusive, and communicative environment that empowers and encourages learning and growth. Today's topic is inclusion in an age of disconnection. And now allow me to welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Wassim Kaakati from Lebanon.
Thank you for the wonderful introduction. Just
Good
a funny
luck.
note, at the first time we met, Sally nearly killed me with Lebanese Dipster man. Just a funny note. I was in so much pain, and it was a necessary remedy just to make it. And I was too shy to say no. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to meet you all. I'm so happy to be part of this team. I'm so happy to be introduced by and proud to be introduced by Miss Sally and forwarded by Miss Sola and Armin and the amazing IELTA Philippines team, including led by Miss Glenn. My topic today is, you know who I am, you know what I do. Now let me give you a bit of a why. This course basically literally changed the course of my professional and personal life. The reason it did so was that I was a bit of a shy person and I needed a way to communicate, and I was put in a supervision position where I supervised 16 teachers, and I had to learn how to communicate and how to empower them to communicate with me. And I can honestly say it changed the course of our work in a couple of days. So I'm sorry if I rush this. It's going to be a bit of intense, but I hope I benefit everyone. And another reason that this is now important is that we're suffering discommunication because of Corona, because of the lockdowns, because of the internet. In Lebanon, we have shortage of power, shortage of economic power, and political power. So we're trying our best to cope with everything around us, and it's causing us to discommunicate in a way. So allow me to start. So this is basically a shortened version of an incredible course I took before, about 7 years ago. It uses the wonder of each in changing our lives. Each is an acronym, of course. It stands for empowerment, accountability, courage, and humility. And this is courtesy of catalyst.org. So here is the question. How do we encourage and empower people to talk to us? And I would like you to take 2 minutes to consider this. So write down notes. How do you encourage people to talk to you?
So we're gonna have people respond to us. They're there.
Let's take 2 minutes,
Okay,
if it's possible, Armin.
Yeah, let's see what they say. How do we encourage people to talk to us, especially the world that we live in, where people are so separated?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Especially that we give most of our sessions now online, all over the world.
Milika said by our body language.
Yeah.
Asking interesting questions.
Very good.
By Doris.
The way how we behave towards others and if we have a positive approach.
Very good.
Providing positive feedback.
Very good. Okay.
Being friendly and kind with others.
Very good.
And start with a smile.
Start with a smile. That's really good. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Sorry, I forgot to say who was saying all this. Like Annie was one who said be friendly, and Nadi Muhammad, she said providing positive feedback. Mili Camila, the way we behave. I apologize again.
So I'm going to provide you with 3 main misconceptions that we have as managers, as supervisors, as teachers, and as family members. The first one is we say we have an open door policy. We know that in the business world, we don't have a closed door policy. So why do we say we have an open door policy? Another misconception is we must have meetings all the time. I know some managers that require 2 meetings a week, and some of them require 3 meetings a week just to make sure that work is going and that the students, for example, are proceeding with their projects. Asking people to please explain. And of course, I will go through each of these one by one. So, empowerment. How do we empower people? We create a space that others do, and most importantly, with each other. So what kind of space do we need? And what does it do to others? And what do others contribute to this space? So basically, we need a mutual space between us, not an open door policy. You don't have to step into my domain, into my office, where I sit behind my desk in my comfort zone and where you're accountable for every word you say. I must find a mutual space between us where you feel comfortable in talking to me. So managers, supervisors, teachers, go out to the real world. When we come back to schools, go meet the students in the playground. Take 5 minutes of your time in the morning, greet them early. Usher them as they go to classes. Talk to them in a friendly way. Go down to their level. This will encourage others to share, to cooperate with you, and most importantly, to communicate with you. So basically, if you have a session, a Zoom session with the students, take 5 to 10 minutes, take 15 or 20 if you have to. If you have to take the whole class just as a friendly conversation, just do that. I, in fact, meet my students after school hours if they want to game, if they want to play some games and just communicate with me. And I found that as the best medium of communication. So basically creating a mutual space that encourages others to share, cooperate, and communicate. So it's creating the safe ground that invites everyone to be together. It's a leveled place. It's a leveled playing field. It's smiling, and you guys got it correctly. It is keeping eye contact, and that was one of the greatest, weakest points I've ever had, keeping eye contact. It's changing your posture. We all know that different cultures mean different postures. Crossing your legs in some cultures is a no-no. Crossing your arms in some cultures is considered very stoical and very cold. Mirroring the other person. So if the other person is concerned, is worried, for us to have that ability to have empathy and mirror that person and be able to share with them their experiences. And finally, avoiding every distraction. I'm talking about, I'm listening to you, but I just have to send this email urgently, but I'm listening, please talk. Or saying, or keeping your phone. I love this quote by Simon Sinek that if you have your phone upside down in front of you, even if it's on silent, even if it's on vibrate, it sends the wrong message. It tells everyone around you that as soon as this thing buzzes, beeps, or even if I feel that I received a message, I might interrupt you at any point and just look at it. That sends the wrong message to the person. As soon as I see the phone upside down in front of me, I know that that person is not willing to fully cooperate and fully listen. So avoiding every form of distraction. So communication disruptors, common communication disruptors are emails, social media, feeling that we're always connected, avenues, and emerging technologies. So Sending so many emails and not always thinking of the best medium of communication is a disruptor. If I receive 10 emails from a manager a day, that is disruptive to my flow of work, because then I know that I have to follow up with every email and I cannot focus on my work. So if something urgent, I know that my manager should at least call me or send me a WhatsApp. But if something is important but not urgent, I know that my manager sends me a report weekly. Expecting our employees, for example, to have social media access all the time, expecting them to cope with every single form of social media. Guys, I need you to be able to comment on our website and to comment on our Instagram. Please follow our TikTok. Please follow our YouTube page. All of this is just a communication disruptor. And this one is always connected. How many of us sent a WhatsApp message only to see that the person is online and that they have read our message, but they haven't responded? And we rage, how dare they not respond? How dare they not communicate with us? We must accept that at a certain point, the students cannot respond to us. They have their own lives. The co-workers, the teachers, the managers, everyone has their own life. And everyone needs to disconnect from social media and from emails and WhatsApp at a certain point of their lives. And this brings us to multiple avenues. I knew someone who requested meetings weekly for their employees. And after they request the meeting, the next day they send an email to remind the employees of the meeting. And then they send a WhatsApp message to remind the employees of the email that reminds them of the meeting. Having multiple avenues is basically very disruptive. You need to establish a clear line of communication that if something is completely urgent, I will send you a WhatsApp or call you. If something is critically important, but you can do it on your own, I will send you an email. If something requires clarification from the teacher to the students, or requires extra manpower, like workshop, things like that, then we agree on a meeting, on a Zoom meeting. And finally, emerging technologies. We know that emerging technologies basically shape the future of education. But we must be careful to use the correct technology for the correct communication. For example, presentations through Flipgrid, but writing projects through ManageBack or through Turnitin. So we must establish a clear line of communication with the students and with everyone around us. So now that we finished with empowerment, let's look at courage. What is courage? Courage is stepping outside of our comfort zone. Courage is speaking up about what matters. Courage is embracing our vulnerability. All right, so I'm going to ask everyone who's watching us to organize these according to importance. So if you feel that, for example, embracing vulnerability is the most important, tell me it's number 1, and then 2, and then 3. So one more time, rate these based on importance to you. For example, to me, the first thing that comes to my heart and to my mind is speaking up about what matters. The second thing is embracing vulnerability. And the third thing is stepping outside of my comfort zone. All right, so now I'm going to geek out on everyone, so I'm really sorry. But this is a beautiful quote that I love. Okay, it says, "Greetings. I'm pleased we are different. May we together become greater than the sum of both of us." And this is from Star Trek. So basically, having the courage to talk to people, having the courage to step and accept other people creates better quality of life. better quality of work. So if you allow yourself to embrace other people and to grow, you will find new areas, new things that you never believed before and you never experienced before. So allow me to start with personally. Clarify your understanding from the person in front of you. So if somebody tells you something important, clarify what you understood. So say, so you mean 1, 2, 3, 4. So if my students told me, Mr. Wassim, I have a problem with this teacher is not listening to me. So I talk to the student on the side and I'm like, do you mean that they don't understand what you say? And then the student clarifies. Take a breath. And I read once about the 3 seconds rule, where you have to take a breath for 3 seconds in order for you to think about what you want to say to the person, and in order for you to allow the person to finish what they're saying and to contemplate. So the 3 seconds rule will allow you to think about your answer instead of you thinking about what do I have to say now to this person? They're talking about this, this, and that. Just listen to them till the end. And while you're listening to them, just accept what they say. And as soon as they finish, take a deep breath for 3 seconds. Think about how you're going to respond. Think about the meaning of what they said, and then clarify your understanding. And agree to disagree. With the current era of everyone wants their opinion to be heard, it is important for us to agree to disagree. If a person sticks to their mind, they don't accept your opinion at all, just accept it and move on. Don't linger about it and don't bother yourself or the community with it. And use I and we. It's really important not to say to the person, please explain this issue, or I heard you do this, or I heard you say this. When you do that to a student, you put them in defensive mode. As soon as I tell the student, please explain what happened in the playground, the student will go into defensive mode. And this is a mistake I actually did with the middle year students last year. But when I told the student, listen, I honestly felt 1, 2, 3, 4. I would love to hear from you. What happened? Or we need to work on this together because I feel that this is something that is wrong or that is out of place. And finally, committing to action. If you say you're going to do something as a teacher, as a supervisor, as a manager, as a coordinator, as a parent, as a friend, commit to it and do it. If you're going to say I can't, also commit to it and don't do it. Or find a medium that helps you. So say, I honestly can't do this unless 1, 2, 3, 4. I know my students, for example, ask me for favors like, Mr. Wassim, can you play with us in the afternoon? We would love to play this game or that. And I tell them like, all right, let's agree on something. Get your parents' permission, finish your work for the day, and I will play with you for half an hour to 45 minutes. And I promise I will. And I do that. I commit to that and I do that and I check with the parents if they finished. So let's look at work. What is courage? It's using partnership. It's saying to everyone else, I really want to work on this with you. I bet we can figure out this together. So notice how we didn't say, do you want to work on this with me? Do you think we can finish this? No, I really want to. I would love to work on this with you. It's using empathy. It's telling everyone, I can feel your enthusiasm as you talk. I can hear your concern. What can I do to help? What can I do to support you? Okay, and when I want to support, I will tell the students, I'd like to help you with this. I want to see you succeed. And this surprisingly happened this morning. Right now it's almost 4 o'clock in Lebanon, Beirut, and as early as 11 a.m. And that's early in Lebanese time. A student approached me on Discord on a gaming platform. He said, "Mr. Wassim, I don't know what to do with the homework." I'm like, "Sure, what do you need?" And we talked for 15 minutes and I sent him the files that he needed. And when that happened, he was encouraged to work on his English homework. It's acknowledgement. How many times we have lazy students, or at least students with special circumstances, who don't deliver what is required from them. But then out of the blue, they give us something that is not up to the task, but at least it is something. So we have to acknowledge that. We have to help them build on that instead of shutting them down. I had students who did not participate for 2 months of online classes. And last week, they gave me a good performance. And I'm like, this is amazing. It shows that you did something great here. It shows that you put some effort. I love how you changed. Show me more of this. Respect the students. I've always appreciated your creativity. There is no doubt you know a lot about this. And this, even for disruptive students. I'll give you an example. I know I'm giving many examples, but I'm trying to relate this to real life situations. I have a special case student who lost his father a couple of weeks ago, about a month ago. And out of the blue, in the middle of a classroom, he started talking about his father and how he misses him and how the loss taught him a lot about himself. I turned that classroom into therapy session. I called in the school counselor and we talked for 30 minutes with everyone in the classroom to break that awkward silence and to help the student as much as possible. And I told him clearly, I respect that you had the courage to talk about this. I love how you went out of your way, but you talked about your emotion. If you want us to talk about this more after the session, I would love to stay and hear more from you. So respecting the students and understanding that they need to vent out at some point or some turn. And being able to legitimize the students' work. Telling the students that this would be hard to anyone. And I always tell my students, because of the situation in our country, I always legitimately tell the students, I know it's difficult to wake up in the morning. I know it's difficult because the internet cuts so much. But no matter how much you disconnect, I know how hard you work to reconnect and how hard you play a role in my classroom. And I tell them, everyone is worried about this, including myself. And it's one of the things that push me to do more for you. So after courage, let's look at being humble, humility. What is humble listening? So humble listening is like courage, similar to courage, but on your side, not just by empowering other people. Remember the safe ground we talked about, having a safe environment that tells people that you're ready to listen, trying to understand the person by clarifying information, trying to paraphrase what the person said in your own words. So if you tell me something, I rephrase it in my own words to show you that this is what I understood. And while I do that, I put my judgment aside. There is no bad student. There are bad situations that create a bad environment for people, that pushes people to a certain point. So put your judgment aside and try to understand the point of view of the student. Some students will be so rude to you and will talk to you in a certain way when they're emotional. Put your judgment aside and try to listen to what they're really trying to say. So listening is not multitasking. And I'm going to quote Jim Quick on this. There is no such thing. Science shows that there is no such thing as multitasking. You need 20 to 25 minutes to focus on a task. So if a person is talking to you, even holding your phone while chatting will create a disruptive communication. And this is extremely important. So when you try to listen to somebody, even if you feel it's a trivial matter, do not multitask. Remove every distraction and pay attention. Don't think while the person is saying. Pause. Take a deep breath. Rephrase in your mind. Don't say, oh, I know. I know how it feels. Believe me, I know. I know. That doesn't send a message that you feel what the person is saying or that you know what the person is going through. But by paraphrasing, by giving the answer in your own words, by rephrasing what the person has said, you tell them, you show them that you see it. How many of us missed non-verbal cues with our students? How many of us missed that the students could not contact us eye to eye, or that the student is shaking, or the student keeps their camera off nowadays with the Zoom meetings or the Teams or the Google Classroom? How many times did we notice that our student did not turn on the camera, not even once for a week? And we did not check with the student. What's going on at your home? Are you all right? How do you feel? Okay. Is there anything I can help you? I would love to see your smile. These nonverbal cues are critical for us to know what's going on with our students and with the people around us. And finally, saying yes to everything that people tell me, and saying yes to everything the students tell you, and agreeing with everything everybody said. So losing yourself in order for yourself to feel inclusive. Inclusive is not you agreeing with every single thing people say. And this is extremely important. Do not agree with everything everyone say. Agree to disagree. Move on. Have your own opinion. That's not bad today in the world. So humble listening is being open to different perspectives, using encourages. Please go on. I'm so interested. I'd love to hear more. This is amazing. I'm really sad about this. Clarifying your understanding in your own words, reflecting on meaning and not on the verbs or the verbal communication said. And finally, pausing. Pausing is not awkward silence. Pausing is telling people I'm here and I'm listening. So let's move on. We finished empowerment. We finished courage. We finished humility and humble listening. Let's move on to accountability. How can you be accountable? And accountable starts with us before we hold students, before we hold colleagues, before we hold family members accountable. Accountability starts with us. So how can we be accountable? We start by taking responsibility in our roles, whether it's success, whether it's failure, whether it's a progress. I know what I can do. I know my role in this relationship, in this work environment. I know what I need to do for my students. And then I give them the empowerment and the accountability to go on with their work. It's checking my assumptions and not judging a person based on a single behavior or based on their history, trying to understand what they're going through and how they're experiencing life and their feelings. Practicing our skills, the skills that we're talking about today, that helps. That helps you being accountable to the other person, because if you're communicating inclusively and openly to other people, then you're not as accountable as if you don't talk much. Helping others doing the same, supporting the community, telling the students what they need to do, what they don't need to do. So accountability. To hold people accountable, you need these clear 5 factors. clear expectation of what they're capable of. So if your students, you expect the students, for example, to complete an essay of 300 to 500 words. You need to make it clear to them that this is what I expect from you, with this structure, with this grammar if you're teaching grammar, with this topic if you gave them a specific topic. So having a clear expectation with a clear deadline. Clear capability. If your students and you're differentiating between your students, you must be able to identify their capabilities. You cannot ask a fish to climb a tree. So you cannot ask a student to write a 500-word essay if they barely can write a paragraph. So you need to make them, empower them to be capable, to be able to give to you, and then you expect from them more. Clear measurement around the way. So if, again, I'll go back to that essay. So if I ask them to write an essay, I'm going to tell them, okay, in a couple of weeks, I'll ask you to give me the outline. The week after I give you feedback, I'll ask you to give me the first draft. After I check the first draft, we'll work on the final draft. And this will allow you to check the first two that we're talking about. Are they meeting your expectations? Are they capable after you training them? And you keep on going forward. And after measurement, with measurement, comes clear feedback. So this goes hand in hand because clear feedback will give them the capability to do their work, will give them the capability to meet your expectations. So all of these are linked together. And finally, clear consequences. Don't be afraid to give out the clear consequences of every single part of the process. You're not threatening the students. You're not threatening the employees. You're just telling them how it is. If we do this, then we can achieve 1, 2, 3, 4, or we can achieve together. If you don't do this, then we will have consequences. We will have issues going forward. I gave my middle year students last week qualitative data collection through interviews. So as teenagers, they were panicking. But what I did were the 5 C's. I told them my expectations. I made sure they're capable. I told them how I'm going to measure it, even if it's going to take 5 weeks. I gave them clear feedback every time we met. And finally, I told them why they're doing that. Because when they start their high school, their projects, their first year of university, they're expected to do research, to give back to the community. So do I have enough time, guys? Because I exceeded my time, actually.
We're actually ahead of the game, so take a little bit more, and that's fine with you. Yeah.
All right. So I can share a video or two.
Yeah, the one that you had before, the Brene Brown one, right?
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Okay. So before we recap, I would love to share with you, ladies and gentlemen, a beautiful video by Brene Brown. Okay, allow me to open internet, and I hope it's clear.
And Wassim, while people are watching the video, do you want them to be thinking about a specific thing, or what do you want them to maybe write in the comments to show their understanding?
Sure, give me a second.
Yeah, no worries. It's just a thought.
That's an excellent idea. All right. All right, so while we're doing this, I would like everyone to think about, oops, what did I do? Think about this. Please take a minute, ladies and gentlemen, to go through this, to recap the 4 things that we talked about today: empowerment, courage, humility, and What was the last one? Accountability. So please match them to the following recap points while I prepare the video for you. All right. And now I would love to share the sound.
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, you climb down. I know what it's like down here. And you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, no, you want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with at least. Yeah. And we do it all the time, because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver, I had a miscarriage. Oh, at least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now, I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
So that was part of the humble listening part, where we should listen to others instead of just responding and saying at least. So sometimes when the students vent out, they just want somebody to listen to hear them, and not somebody to tell them what to do. I can tell you that helped me, honestly, in my marriage a lot. That I started listening instead of trying to solve every single thing that happens in my life. So let's recap very quickly on everything we went through today. So which behavior helps you communicate so others feel heard, valued, included? Whether your team at work, your family, or your community, it's empowerment. So I will write it here on the side. So this is empowerment. Well, that's huge. So this is empowerment. So it's not clear. Okay. Which each behavior can apply to your communication to ensure those around you are responsible? That's accountability. My apologies for the text. I'm trying to fix it. There it is. All right. Taking ownership of mistakes, learning from others, and communicating more deeply, that's humble humility. And finally, okay, which each behavior can help you communicate even during difficult times. It is, of course, courage. So this is the H of today. And I would love to leave you with this kind of reflection. If we can read the responses, Armin. Let's test everyone's knowledge.
Sure.
So your student is giving an important MIP or DP task. Sorry, I teach in my school. That's the only thing that came to my mind. You suggest that he or she creates a timeline with specific measurable goals and provide you with a weekly progress report. So which two elements are we talking about here? Again, we're looking for two elements. Are they courage, humility, accountability, or empowerment? Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. I'll check the Zoom on my side.
Let's see what they say. You may want to show us the possible responses, kind of like multiple choice, so we can see.
Sure. I'm going to write them on the side.
That's fine.
Yeah, actually, our Facebook Live audiences are giving their answers. Some said it's courage. Some from Mahmoud Tabet, it's courage. From Prakash Medekar, that's empathy. From Aya Itani, that's courage. Lak Jaya give all the answers: empowerment, accountability, humility, courage. Which should be the best answer?
I'm going to keep this on the side. Are you ready, everyone? And the answer is empowerment and accountability. You're empowering them of taking control of their own learning, but you're holding them accountable by providing you reports of their work. So you tell them you have agency over this work, you can do it on your own, I believe in you, okay? But you tell them I need to check with you every step of the way. So please send me a report, or we can have a meeting if you feel more comfortable. Ready to move on? All right. Step
Oh,
number
wow.
2.
Ronald Dorado got the correct answer. Wassim. He said accountability and empowerment. Congratulations.
Wonderful.
Yes, yes, yes.
All right. Part 2. A lesson that you prepared for was not as successful as you had hoped. And your coordinator points this out in a departmental meeting in front of everyone. You acknowledge your mistakes and think about ways to make things differently next time. So, which two can we put here?
All right, I would just like to share the answers from our Facebook Live audiences. According to Dr. Bashahaili, accountability can lead to empowerment. Rakaya Mahmoud said it's courage. Karna Vera said it's empowerment. Mabuda said it's accountability.
Okay, so ready everyone? I'm going to move this up. And the answer is courage and humility. You're being humble by accepting your mistakes and accepting that they pointed it out in front of everyone else. You're going to move on. And you're going to have the courage to acknowledge that you made a mistake, but you can make things better. We must have the courage to say, I did something wrong. I grew up in a country where part of the social norm was never apologize for something. You made a mistake, say it's okay and move on. We never say it's okay. We say, I made a mistake, I'm sorry, I'll do things differently next time. Or could you tell me how to make it better next time if you don't know? All right, last part. Your colleagues are having trouble completing a plan, progress report, or project. Instead of helping them write it and telling them, hey, I'd love to do this with you. Okay, we can sit together and I will write it up. You sit down with them and ask them to talk through some of the ideas they have been thinking about. So basically you telling them, all right, why don't we sit down? I would love to listen to your ideas. We can brainstorm ideas and then you can go forward with it. So, which two?
All right, our Facebook Live audiences are again giving their answer. For Aya Itani, it's humility and courage. For Adalis Monzon Torres, it's courage, humility. For Veronica, it's empowerment. Danthea says, yeah, got the correct answer. And Lak Jayo said it's courage and humility. And for Brianna here, it's humility.
All right. So I know it takes courage to tell people, I'm sorry, I can't work on this with you. The answer here is actually empowerment and accountability. You're empowering them to go forward with this project, but you're holding them accountable for the work asked from them. So this is their responsibility. This is their work. You can empower them to do the work, okay, by having the courage to say, okay, I'll sit and I'll listen to your ideas. And if you need any more ideas, I would love to contribute. If they think, for example, you're more creative than others, or they trust you with their decisions, or they'd love to hear your feedback. They know you give excellent feedback. All of these points will basically work out. Just don't do the work for them. All right. So allow me just to clear everything up. So what did we do today? Today we talked about each one of us, all of us together, using empowerment, accountability, courage, and humility. And at the end of this humbling presentation, I would love to share with you one final video if it's possible. And then I'll give you my thank you notes. So can I share with them one final video?
Last one. You got it, Wassim. Go for it.
Last one. Awesome. All right, just 1 second. And voila. There we go.
How many of you are blamers?
Hi, my name is Brene.
Let me just tell you this quick story. So this is a couple years ago when I first realized the magnitude to which I blame. I'm in my house, I have on white slacks and a pink sweater set, and I'm drinking a cup of coffee in my kitchen. It's a full cup of coffee. I drop it on the tile floor. It goes into a million pieces, splashes up all over me. And the first, a millisecond after it hit the floor, right out of my mouth is this: damn you, Steve. Who's my husband? Because let me tell you how fast this works for me. So Steve plays water polo with a group of friends. And the night before, he went to go play water polo. And I said, hey, make sure you come back at 10, because I can never fall asleep until you're home. And he got back like at 10:30. And so I went to bed a little bit later than I thought. Ergo, my second cup of coffee that I probably would not be having had he come home when we discussed. Therefore, and so the rest of that story is I'm cleaning up the kitchen. Steve calls, caller ID. I'm like, hey. He's like, hey, what's going on, babe? What's going on? So I'll tell you exactly what's going on. I'm cleaning up the coffee that spilled all, like dial tone. Because he knows How many of you go to that place when something bad happens, the first thing you want to know is whose fault is it? I'd rather it be my fault than no one's fault. Because why? Why? Because it gives us some semblance of control. But here, if you enjoy blaming, this is where you should stick your fingers in your ear and do the no, 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 no thing, because I'm getting ready to ruin it for you. Because here's what we know from the research. Blame is simply the discharging of discomfort and pain. It has an inverse relationship with accountability. Accountability, by definition, is a vulnerable process. It means me calling you and saying, hey, my feelings were really hurt about this, and talking. It's not blaming. Blaming is simply a way that we discharge anger. People who blame a lot seldom have the tenacity and grit to actually hold people accountable, because we expend all of our energy raging for 15 seconds and figuring out whose fault something is. And blaming is very corrosive in relationships, and it's one of the reasons we miss our opportunities for empathy. Because when something happens and we're hearing a story, we're not really listening. We're in the place where I was, making the connections as quickly as we can about whose fault something was.
So at the end of this presentation, intense presentation, again, I apologize for rushing so fast to everyone, but I thought I was very short on time. I'm really honored to be part of this caravan. I'm really honored for the opportunity to speak to all of you. And I'm open to listen to anything and every comment that you'd love to say. If you have a question, if you have a comment, I'd love to hear it.
Thank you, Wassim. That was very insightful and informative.
Do we have Sally? Wassim, people are saying congratulations. We enjoyed this presentation. Thank you. From Mahmoud, thank you very much indeed for this good presentation. Awesome session from Yanette. Larissa says, thanks for sharing. Much love and respect. It's an honor. Thanks. Fantastic sharing. All right, Sally?
If she's not here,
Sally's back. Sally's back.
Yes, I'm back. It's the connection. I'm very sorry for that. So as I was saying, we have some questions from the audience. That was beautiful. The interaction was great, and they have some questions for you. Are you ready for this?
Of course. Would love to.
All right. Let's go. How can you control or minimize the disruptors effect that create hindrance in the teaching learning process?
Okay, so if we're talking online, we have the raise hand option in the Zoom. I don't know if we have it in Teams and Google Classroom, but the raise hand option is critical, for example, to allow people to listen. And one of the beautiful things that were said yesterday in a webinar, in a quick webinar that I watched, is telling people it's not rude to mute you all, but if I mute you all, it means I want to listen to you clearly and without any interruption. Okay. The second thing is, again, to rephrase what the person said. So if a student answered us in a certain way, to have the courage and tell them, okay, so you mean 1, 2, 3, 4. I promise you, either the student is going to think that you're reading their minds, or the student is going to clarify their understanding. Okay? So my students go like, teacher, are you a teenager at heart? I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry, I am. And it works. So one more time, giving them the chance to be heard by muting everyone and raising the hands. In the classroom, being able to listen and give feedback. Feedback is really critical. And yeah, going to think that you're reading their minds, or the student is going to clarify their understanding. All right. Question 2. I hope I answered the question because I understood it from
Yes.
the point of online lessons and online learning.
Yeah, actually, if you want, I can repeat the question. I don't have a problem.
No, I heard it.
Oh.
But that's how I understood it basically.
You definitely answered it.
Yeah, thank you. That was great. That was great answer. Very interesting answer indeed. If you want, we can move to question number 2. You mentioned that we need to agree to disagree. Yeah, and Locke Jiahui was asking you if you can elaborate this more.
Okay, so I'm teaching literature. So literature is really argumentative, and people have different opinions about literature. Some of my students love classical literature, some of them love contemporary, some of them just love bestsellers and Hollywood-based movies and things like that. So agree to disagree that we have differences, that we are different people from different backgrounds with different preferences, likes and dislikes. So that's where we agree to disagree. Not every problem has a solution, but sometimes you must have the respect that if you have your opinion, you're entitled to your opinion. I'm not going to judge you over it, but I don't have to agree with it because I'm myself in the end. That's an example of it. So agreeing to disagreeing is just part of our lives. We don't lose friends over it because true friends stay and they appreciate these differences, for example.
That's truly amazing. I really love it how you are elaborating this thing. And we do have one more question. It's the last one actually. Ms. Jocelyn is asking, how can we encourage timid and shy students and learners?
I'm going to say from personal experience, I don't know how lucky I am to have this. I was a shy student for more than 17 years. I'm talking about the shy students who sits in the classroom, barely says a word, doesn't speak to everyone, even outside in the community, and basically giving them the chance to speak when they want to speak, encouraging them and telling them that they're heard, that they matter, that their opinion is actually going to change things. And my parents never believed this, but when I went to college and I started learning English literature, my professors told them that, listen, this is not the best student. He is shy. He doesn't contribute much, but the classroom doesn't work without him because he has great ideas. He makes the classroom work. And telling that student, even if one-on-one, listen, you make the classroom work. Yeah, you're creative in this point. You have brilliant ideas in this point. You're an excellent mathematician, for example, if they're good with math. You're an excellent, you have an excellent creative scientific mind, or you're a critical thinker. Building on their strong points help them go out of that shy state. And shyness is not bad. Research shows many of today's leaders are actually shy.